Skeletons of the Marital Closet by Tang. Chapter 1591. With that said, Mary picked up her bag and checked her documents. "I'll be going now. Should I accompany you?" "No need. You stay here to take care of Joshua," she said, looking at Gale. "Shawn's around. I can take a break." Mary teased him. "Men hardly can take care of kids. You'd better stay. Considering Joshua and Shawn's relationship, Joshua's injury is still healing, and he needs lots of care." Mary walked toward the door. Joshua quickly called out, "Grandma, where are you going? Are you leaving already? Can't you stay a bit longer with me?" "I have some errands to run." Seeing her grandson painting for her, Mary could not stop smiling. "I'll be back to keep you company." "Okay, Grandma. Hurry back. I'll miss you. Love you lots." Shawn glanced at him. What a childish kid. How could he utter such cheesy words? Mary fell for it. All right. Joshua looked reluctant, watching Mary leave. "Mom, it's a good thing you didn't go. If you left me alone with Shawn, I would have gone crazy." Shawn pursed his lips. "I didn't expect you to be so weak, since I haven't complained about going crazy." Gale looked at them and asked, "What happened to you two?" "He can't take care of anyone. He is clumsy, impatient, and affectionate. It seriously affects my mood. If my mood is poor, it will slow down my recovery. If my recovery is low, it affects my mood," Joshua said. Gale and Shawn were both speechless. Was that a tongue twister? "In short, I don't want to be alone with Shawn in the ward. I'll protest. I'll call Grandpa and tell him you guys don't care about me," Joshua said. Gale curiously asked Shawn, "When I went to pick up Nicole, what exactly did you two do here?" Shawn pressed his temples. "I carried him to the bathroom and followed his instructions to the T," Shawn said. "He endured it. After all, he was his biological son." Despite his efforts, Joshua did not seem satisfied. Gale chuckled. "Even a respectable man like you has to serve your son in the bathroom? Did he poop or pee?" Shawn scowled. "Both." She could not stop laughing. She could not imagine that Shawn, accustomed to a life of luxury, never had to lift a finger in his life. Who would have thought he would experience hardships one day? "Did you think being a parent is so easy?" Gale laughed. "This is considered easy. If he were a bit younger, you'd have to change his diapers every day." Chapter 1592. Shawn's brow furrowed. Joshua complained, "He's not careful at all. I don't want him to take care of me. When I see his face, even I have a bad stomach ache. I can't poop." Gale was already laughing hysterically on the sofa. "Fortunately, Shawn is a man. Otherwise, he'd have seen everything," Joshua continued. "Do you think I wanted to see you naked?" "But you did," Shawn coldly retorted. "You do know I physically have whatever you have." Joshua was speechless. He could not argue with that. Suddenly, Gale's phone rang. She checked and saw it was Aram calling. She instinctively looked at Shawn. "I'll take this call outside." "Take it here." Shawn raised his hand to stop her. "Is there anything you want to keep from me?" "I have no secrets with Aram. I just didn't want you to get jealous." "I will get jealous only if you leave." Gale nodded and answered the call. "Hello, Aram. What's up?" she asked softly. Aram was quiet for a moment before asking, "Did you arrange for Miss Zoe to move out of my place to work for you?" Yes, Joshua and Nicole both need her around. So Joshua won't be coming back to mine anymore? After a pause, Aram continued, Well, of course. Why would he? Gale gripped the phone, unsure how to respond. She thought for a moment. Well, if you want to see him in the future, you can visit anytime. He can also visit your place whenever he likes. Gale, when someone leaves, it's not that easy to get them back anymore. It was Aram who brought Joshua to Sea City. He would not have done that if not for Gale. He knew she would miss her son, and he knew she would worry. She wanted to bring Joshua with her, but she did not have an opportunity to do so. Aram knew all of Gale's concerns. He made so many arrangements for her, day after day, year after year. From the time she called him for help on the operating table to when she wanted to leave Shawn. So much had happened, and anything Gale wanted to do, Aram did his best to help her achieve it. In the end, what did Aram get? Just her thanks. Was this what he wanted? Gale glanced at Shawn helplessly, biting her lip. Aram said, Actually, Joshua has never belonged to me. He was just staying with me temporarily. I was too attached and treated him like my own son. He will return to you eventually. Chapter 1593. Sorry, just act like I have never called. I lost my temper. My apologies. I just feel... Let's forget it. Aram disconnected the call directly, not giving Gale a chance to speak. On the other end, Joshua suddenly clenched his phone and threw it forcefully to the ground. Snap! The phone instantly shattered into pieces. At that moment, Zoe entered the room. She witnessed the scene and did not dare to make a sound. What happened to Aram? Why the sudden burst of anger? In all her years at the Leftings, she had never seen this side of him. He had always been polite, courteous, and gentle. What happened? Aram looked angry. It was an expression that did not become him. His chest heaved violently, anger burning within him. With Natalie gone, Joshua leaving, and Zoe about to move to Gale's place, who was left with him? He was alone. Aram abruptly stood up, stepping directly over the shattered phone, his face devoid of expression. After a few steps, he noticed Zoe at the door. Mrs. Zoe? Zoe quickly bowed her head. Mr. Lefting, I've packed up my things. I'm here to bid you farewell. Aram's expression softened a bit, attempting to smile. You're going to Temperley Hall, right? Yes, Joshua and Nicole are over there. I raised them from birth. They can't bear to part with me, and I have feelings for them too. Mrs. Zoe, do you remember your original identity? Zoe responded, Yes, I was your maid, and I raised you. As she grew older, she retired to focus on her health and her family. In all those years, Aram never forgot her and frequently sent her gifts. Later on, he found her and entrusted her with the task of taking care of someone new. It was Gale, who was then pregnant, quiet, and reserved. Zoe did not ask for much and immediately busied herself to take care of Gale. So, even you are leaving. In the end, I can't even keep one person. Mr. Lefting. It's nothing. Gale is kind-hearted. She will treat you well. Zoe said, Mr. Lefting, Miss Yarn is gone. You should find someone else. Fill this house with liveliness. Look at Joshua and Nicole. They are so cute. You can get married, have children, and have a happy family. Otherwise, this mansion is indeed too big and too empty. Get married? Have children? Yes, at your age, it's time. Aram asked, It's not so easy to find someone new. I can't marry someone without love. What if the other person turns out to be like Natalie? No, Mr. Lefting. You can't be so pessimistic. There are still many good women out there. Being the catch that you are, you can date whoever you want, Zoe advised. Aram chuckled. He knew who he wanted. She was just unattainable. Seeing his spirits were still low, Zoe switched the topic and said, Today, Joshua was saying that when he's discharged, he wants to find you a lady that is beautiful, gentle, and kind. If she's even a bit lacking in any of those 3 criteria, she won't do. Chapter 1594. It sounded like something Joshua would say. Aram muttered to himself in a low voice, Joshua wishes for me to be his father. He hopes that Gale and I will be together. He repeatedly tries to ship us. I wonder if he still remembers. After a few seconds, he added, Anyway, he speaks without restraint. How can I take him seriously? Mr. Lefting, what did you say? Zoe did not catch it, only seeing Aram's mouth moving. Nothing. Aram raised his head and said, Mrs. Zoe, take care. The Lefting family will welcome you back anytime. Zoe replied, I'm an old woman. When Joshua and Nicole grow up, I won't be able to take care of them. I have to go back to the countryside to retire and live out the rest of my life peacefully. Mr. Lefting, you really should find a companion. Miss Yarn has held you back for too long. You should find your true love. Yes, Mrs. Zoe. I'll see you off. Aram personally escorted Zoe to the car. At this moment, he behaved like his old self again, the polite, gentle, and meticulous Aram she knew. The man who had just slammed his phone on the floor was a complete stranger. Aram's smile slowly disappeared as the car drove away. Why had he done so much, yet ended up alone, without gaining anything? Everyone was leaving him. Gale's rightful partner should be him, not Shawn. He had done as much for Gale as Shawn, and he had never harmed her. Why did she not choose him? I refuse to accept it, Gale. I refuse. Aram gritted his teeth. Shawn has done so many things to hurt you. Why can he still have you in the end? Why are you willing returning to him? What's so good about him? Is he better than me? What I've done for you, what does it count for? Gale, I've told you, I will only marry one woman, and that is the daughter of the Yarn family. That's you. Aram would not look for someone new. He wanted Gale. He wanted to compete with Shawn and pursue his happiness. He was not inferior to Shawn. In fact, he treated Gale even better than Shawn did. Aram was devoted to Gale. He never changed his heart. Gale, you and I were fated to be together from the beginning. Shawn came later. There should be a first come, first served rule. Aram's gaze darkened. The Lefting mansion could not remain empty. It would welcome its madam. Meanwhile, in the hospital room, Gale looked at her phone, furrowing her brows. Aram was acting unusually, but she could not pinpoint what was wrong. It might be the shock from Natalie's death, coupled with Heather's confession at the graveyard, revealing the truth about Gale's disappearance years ago. It must be difficult to process. She decided to meet him and talk it out, but only when the time was right. Putting down her phone, she met Shawn's gaze as she raised her head. What's wrong? I had the speaker on. You heard everything, right? Gale asked. Seems like Aram is not very happy. Chapter 1595. Who could be happy in a situation like this? Shawn leaned back on the sofa, arms crossed. He's in a bad mood. Are you feeling sorry for him? Do you want to go and keep him company? Gale blinked, staring at him in confusion. What are you talking about? Gale, you told me yourself that you love Aram. Her heart skipped a beat. Oh no, she forgot about that. Shawn brought it up again. I remember. Do you feel like it's not right to be with me? Shawn continued. No, not at all, Gale denied hastily, moving closer to him and wrapping her arms around his. Shawn, listen to me. Let me explain. He remained cool, arms still folded. Gale forcefully inserted her hand into his arm, holding onto him firmly. Husband! It's pointless. Shawn remained unmoved. How could she think that coquettish behavior was enough? Gale pursed her lips. Shawn has higher standards now. Calling him husband or kissing him did not seem to have the same effect as before. Did he forget how he used to pester her to call him husband and demand a kiss from her? Men were never satisfied with whatever they had. Nevertheless, Gale dared not voice her anger. She needed to appease him. It was her fault for declaring before that she loved Aram. Now, Shawn was bringing it up again. Gale approached him, resting her chin on his shoulder. Shawn, you don't really believe that I meant what I said, do you? He knowingly asked. Which part? The one where I said I loved Aram? Do you really believe it? Why would I not believe it when it came from your mouth and right in front of me? That was a long time ago. You should have noticed that something was off. She said it out of anger. Shawn was so smart. How could she not see through her? If she truly liked Aram, why would she stay with Shawn, take care of 2 children with him, and plan to reveal Joshua's identity? Why would she refuse Aram's request to save Natalie? More importantly, why would she sleep with him? She might have said she loved Aram, but her actions were clearly different. Shawn coldly snorted. I did notice. So what? I couldn't be sure. I thought you loved me, then thought you didn't because you said you loved Aram. You never directly told me you don't love him. Gale hurriedly asked. Can I say it now? No. Too late. Shawn was extremely indifferent. It's not too late. Back then, I just wanted a divorce from you to get rid of you as soon as possible. That's why I simply said I loved Aram, hoping you'd give up. But now, Gale insisted, putting on a brave face. Chapter 1596. Now all I want is to grow old with you. Shawn remained motionless and refused to even look at her. Gale went to him and tightly clung onto his arm. I've wanted to explain this to you, but like the whole issue with Joshua's identity, I just couldn't find the right time. If Natalie had not suddenly taken Joshua hostage, Joshua's identity might have been kept a secret for a while longer. It was Gale trying to hide it. She just did not know how. Every time she wanted to speak, she was interrupted. She finally mustered the courage to say it, and Shawn still did not believe her. Hey, don't you remember? When Natalie said Joshua was your son, I nodded in agreement. You were the one who didn't believe me and thought it was a plot. What could I do? Saving Joshua was the priority. I wanted to explain to you later. Now, I want to tell you that the person I love has never been Aram, and yet you still don't believe me. Gale sighed deeply. It's so difficult for me. Shawn coldly snorted again. Hey, Shawn, if you're going to keep up this attitude, then we have nothing to talk about. Gale got annoyed. Just with these mere words, I'm supposed to cave? What do you want me to do then? Shawn turned to her. You won't understand what I felt when you said you loved Arum. You won't understand how much it hurt me. It's like a curse, reminding me constantly that the person I love most is in love with someone else. I just spoke without thinking. Why say you love? I was just impulsive. I wanted a divorce from you, so I found an excuse. Then she quickly added, luckily, the divorce didn't happen, or else I would have lost the best husband in the world. Though cheesy, it worked. Shawn's expression visibly softened. Indeed, men loved to hear sweet sentiments. Seeing his reaction, Gale continued, after all the twists and turns, the one who has been with me is still you. Always you. Shawn, apart from you, how could I possibly fall in love with someone else? No man can ever be what you are to me. You are my husband, my first love. I gave my first kiss to you and bore 2 children for you. I've kept a unique place in my heart just for you, irreplaceable by anyone else. Shawn slowly spoke. Is it the truth? Absolutely. Besides me, you've never loved any other man? Not even a little? Never. Not even a bit. My feelings for Arum are purely friendship. She could not control Arum's feelings. Besides, she and Arum had a childhood connection. She had no memory of it. In Gale's childhood memories, the person who occupied the most space was Sam. Shawn asked, have you never loved Sam? He wasn't your first love? Gale's heart skipped a beat. It seemed trouble always found her. She swallowed hard. You were engaged to Arum as a child, and then to Sam when you were older. Gale, I really underestimated you. You have such a colorful love life. Shawn squinted slightly. Chapter 1597. Gale rolled her eyes. Shawn gently pinched her chin. Quiet now, are we? She met his gaze. I'm just thinking about how to describe my relationship with Sam. I don't want to deceive you. Give me a moment to organize my thoughts. As soon as Gale finished speaking, she felt Shawn's gaze soften. He seemed less jealous. Sincerity has always proved to be the most effective weapon. Actually, Sam and I did have feelings for him. Is that the answer you thought about and want to tell me? Hear me out. We grew up together, and he took good care of me. He was gentle, considerate, tall, and handsome. Which girl wouldn't like such a guy? Later we got engaged, spurred by our families. We were childhood sweethearts. It was a precious thing. At that time, both of us were young and didn't understand what love was. We had never truly loved anyone before. My feelings for Sam were, at most, puppy love. Those feelings never got to mature and stand the test of time. As you already know, I met you, and he was sent abroad by the Carson family. When we met again, everything had changed. If I hadn't appeared, and you continued with him, you would have married him, right? Yes, but unfortunately, there's no if. Shawn, you did appear, Gale replied. His fingertip delicately caressed her chin, moving slowly and landing at the corner of her eye. Gale, Look into my eyes and tell me you don't love Arum. Shawn said. Gale did as instructed, and their eyes locked. I don't love Arum. There's really nothing between us. My relationship with Sam was just puppy love. Shawn was pleased and continued to guide her. Very good. Now, say that the person you love is me. Gale's cheeks turned red. She was easily embarrassed and not good at expressing her love boldly. It was not easy for her to admit her feelings. You don't want to say it? Shawn raised an eyebrow. You know it anyway. Shawn's voice was husky. I understand, but I want to hear it. Gale quickly glanced at Joshua, who was engrossed in watching cartoons on his tablet. He was not paying much attention to them. Otherwise, with his sharp tongue, he would tease Gale to death. She nudged his chest. Our son is here. Behave. Shawn leaned closer, his thin lips against her ear. Then say it softly. I'll come closer to you. Gale's heart raced for a moment. Thump, thump, thump. He was just too good at coaxing her. Speak. Shawn's hand rested on her waist, giving it a gentle squeeze. Afraid of ticklish sensations, Gale shrank back, leaning more deeply into his embrace. You know it already. Why insist on me saying it? Chapter 1598. Shawn retorted. Don't you want to hear me say those 3 words? Nope. Not now. I'll tell you later. Besides, I never forced you to say those 3 words before, Gale said. Shawn pursed his lips. I'll wait until you say it. Hey, Shawn. He was always a man of his word. He would surely stand his ground. How could she whistle her way out of this? Gale could only say in a very soft voice, almost a whisper, I love you. As soon as she said that, Shawn responded, Gale, I love you too. At that moment, her heart raced incredibly fast. The feeling of having love reciprocated was so wonderful. Shawn insisted on making her say those words so she could feel that way. Gale smiled radiantly, and she looked up at him. Their eyes locked, and they could see each other being reflected on their gazes. How much longer do you guys need? Joshua's voice interrupted. If you have time, please help me play the next episode of my cartoon. I've tried to avoid interrupting the both of you, but honestly, I have watched this episode 3 times. It was so hard to be a good son. He saw his parents being lovey-dovey with each other and decided that he would not disturb them. He would give them some private time. However, it looked like things were going a bit too well. It had been almost an hour, and there was no sign of them stopping. Moreover, the love in the air seemed to be getting more intense. Gale plunged into Shawn's embrace. She felt too embarrassed to face Joshua. Shawn stoically got up and walked over, putting on the next episode for Joshua. Why doesn't it autoplay? Then you should ask it. How would I know? Joshua said. Shawn smirked. You've had it hard. Good that you know. Remember to compensate me for my troubles, Joshua said. He continued to stare at the cartoon. Shawn took out earphones, preparing to put them on him. Hey, what are you doing? Joshua resisted. Putting on earphones for you. Do you have a problem with it? I don't want to wear them. It's uncomfortable. Shawn insisted on putting them on him. So you won't eavesdrop. Joshua protested loudly. I've heard everything, and I haven't interrupted you or said anything. Why are you still pressing me like this? I won't wear them. You heard everything? Yeah, you're jealous of Uncle Arum, and you're also jealous of another man named Sam. I don't know him. Isn't that right? Joshua blurted everything in one breath. Joshua's ears were truly sharp. Chapter 1599. He can actually hear so clearly even at a distance and even while watching cartoons. Shawn did not answer. Joshua spoke. I never thought that Mom used to tell you she loved Uncle Arum. Ah, if only I had known earlier. What would you have done? Naturally, he wanted to answer that he was going to tell Uncle Arum and then play matchmaker between them. Suddenly, Gale broke her silence and started coughing violently. She did not want to let Joshua answer, seeing that she was about to persuade Shawn to drop the matter successfully. Gale could not afford to fail at this critical moment. Joshua got her message and held his tongue. Nothing. I'll continue watching cartoons. It was funny how they thought Shawn would let it go. Afraid to speak? Joshua, you're not as fearless as I imagined. Shawn deliberately provoked him. However, Joshua did not take the bait. He grinned and said, Shawn, this trick won't work on me. She can say it's not true, but the point is that she said it. Which was a lie, Gale quickly corrected. Joshua continued, Okay, fine. Well, honestly, if you want to blame someone for her lies, blame yourself. Be a man. You're the one who forced her into a corner. Also, where's your spine? You were the one who left him back then. Where did the courage you had go? Grow a spine. Gale was suddenly inspired. Yeah, that was right. It was Shawn who was in the wrong, causing her to lose hope. That was why she was determined to divorce, deliberately saying she loved another man. She was manipulated into believing she was at fault. That's right. Gale stood up abruptly. Shawn, how could you be so overbearing and oppressive? It's you who pushed me into a corner and made me determined to divorce and say I love another man. She put her hands on her hips, head held high. It was time to take charge. No more being manipulated by Shawn. Exactly, that's my mom. Joshua finally showed a satisfied expression. Shawn directly handed him the earphones, turned around, and walked to Gale. Had enough? He asked. Joshua was right. You made a mistake first, and I did speak carelessly later. I can admit my mistake and apologize. But the premise is that you apologize to me first. It was Shawn being too dominant and selfish, making her feel like he would take away the child and hurt her again. She wanted to escape. At that time, Gale wanted a divorce, to sever ties with Shawn, to have nothing to do with him, and to be far away from him. However, she never thought of being with Arum after the divorce. She wanted to regain her freedom. Gale, from the moment you appeared in front of me with Nicole, I never thought to force you to stay with me. I was afraid that you would leave me again by jumping into the sea. I didn't know then. I promised you and repeated it multiple times. It's you who didn't believe it. Gale was persistent. If you made me feel secure, how would I not believe you? People seldom change their nature. Chapter 1600. At that time, she had no idea that Shawn was willing to let her and Nicole go. Gale thought he was just comforting her, saying things to reassure her. Now, thinking back, she had misunderstood him. Do you believe me now? Shawn asked. Yes, you have been behaving. I started trusting you and letting my guard down. Why didn't you clarify with me that you don't love Arum? I thought you already figured it out. Shawn looked at her seriously. Gale, I've never asked you outright to tell me you love me. But when I ask, I need affirmation. I may need it over and over again. Only then will I truly believe and keep believing that you do. To everyone, Shawn has always been a confident, even arrogant person. Born into a wealthy family, he could easily obtain everything he wanted. He rarely cared about anything. However, everything changed completely after meeting Gale. He had been constantly seeking Gale's affirmation and testing her sincerity. Even after getting an answer, he wanted to confirm again, test again, and ask her openly and secretly how much she loved him. He was insecure. How long would she love him? Would it last forever? Would it change? Shawn was always confident in everything because he could control it. However, when it came to Gale's love for him, how much she loved him, and whether she loved only him, he was always uncertain and worried. Now, at this very moment, he was still wondering how much she loved him. Looking at Shawn's vulnerable side, revealing his lack of confidence, Gale softened instantly. She was moved. A man so powerful that nothing could break him suddenly exposed his wound to her. Gale could not resist softening up. Shawn, in the days to come, every day, I will reassure you that I love you. I believe you, and I've let my guard down against you, she said. He looked at her with much softer eyes. I love you. If you believe it now, but doubt it tomorrow, you can come and ask me again. She loved him. He could repeatedly be assured. Shawn could not hold back anymore. He reached out his arms and held her tightly in his embrace. I love you too, Gale. You can get my assurance anytime too. I don't need to. I know you love me and will continue to love me. It won't change. Shawn tightened his embrace even more, as if trying to consume her. Gale hugged him back tightly. Shawn, the reason I'm so sure is because you show it through your actions. So I'm very confident and trust you. Maybe I didn't do well enough to show it to you, which made you suspicious and worried. Don't be afraid. You haven't lost me. You've always had me. From now on, to the future, to the ends of the earth. Shawn's hand trembled slightly. At this moment, he truly felt that he had her wholly. Every part of her was his.